Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. So today I'm going to be sharing with you just some troubleshooting tips, and I'm going to be using my server as an example because this actually died about 2 weeks ago, and since then I've figured out what's the problem, and I decided, well, let me share with you guys how I troubleshoot. Maybe you find something useful while you're troubleshooting. As this is a troubleshooting video, I'm just going to give you a few steps of what I would suggest you do if you run into a problem with your system. Alright, so first off, I would just think about, okay, did I change something in my system a few days just before this problem started, maybe a few days ago, even up to a week, but I think more than a week, that wouldn't be really necessary. Except if you didn't use your PC for that week, then obviously you might want to just think back what you did to your system. Or if you changed out something in terms of maybe you did an overclock on your system, maybe you changed out fans, you put in, maybe the new fans have more power usage, maybe it's a hard drive or something like that. So you just want to basically think, well, what did you change that could maybe cause this problem? So after you think about that, maybe you want to check that out. Maybe if you can, take that component out or swap it back for the old one if you install the new one, if this is possible. Otherwise, you can just manually go and check for your parts if they are compatible. Maybe it's a power issue. It could also happen that you're drawing too much power from one rail on your power supply. That's a whole other discussion about power supplies and how they work and everything. But you might want to go check out that. And then you just maybe want to just start eliminating one by one what things could be. So maybe just remove your overclocks, maybe take out a hard drive, take out your fans, maybe check if anything was physically damaged inside, if there's a burning smell, maybe you can see burn marks on your motherboard, or you've got a burning smell coming from your power supply. So you basically just want to, it's just a process of elimination. You just take, well, what did you change? If you take your PC now, well, what did you change in it? Could that be the problem? Can I change it out to see, just to take that variable out to see, well, did that cause the problem? And then just basically repeat that step until you find your problem. And if you can, try and swap out some major parts. So like, for instance, in my case, I had another power supply, although I was using it, at least I knew that power supply was fully working, so I swapped it out, and then I realized, oh well, my power supply is dead. So to start off, I think I'm going to tell you just exactly what happened with it, just a little bit of backstory so you understand where I'm coming from and then why I did the steps that I did. So it was about 2 weeks ago, 2 weeks ago, or exactly on this day. I turned on the server in the morning, as I usually do. I don't leave it running through the night because I sleep in the same room. It's not that noisy, but just I don't need it through the night, so I generally just shut it down and then just boot it up as I need it. So I turned it on. It worked fine for about 2 to 5 minutes, and then suddenly the system would just completely, it wouldn't even shut down, it would just lose power, like everything, it would just go completely dark. There would be nothing, fan stop, literally, as the system was just like a forced shutdown. You just flip the switch here to back for the power supply. Alright, so first I thought, well, maybe it was something to do with my multi-plug that I'm using, so I bypassed that. It still did the same. Alright, but then I remembered, well, just the previous day I installed a few more hard drives to just expand my storage space and just have a little bit bigger. So I thought, well, maybe I'm just drawing too much power and the power supply cannot handle it, so when it reaches that stage where all the components, they draw too much power, then the power supply just, for safety measures, just cuts out. So the next thing I did is I actually unplugged all of my drives and literally just left my boot drive in there. I did use just a normal Windows for this, and then I just created a shared drive over the network thing for my NAS setup. So then I disconnected all the drives, I booted it up again, and the same happened. It just, after a few minutes, it just went off. So I think, alright, the next step is, I definitely thought this is power related. I also went and checked like the View event logger that's built into Windows. I went and checked that, and I did see the problem was something with some sort of power I'm not exactly sure what the code is for or what the code exactly means, but it was some sort of power failure or power problem, and then it basically just immediately, not even blue screen, just immediately powers off everything, I guess to obviously save the system. So the next step is I actually took my graphics card out and just left just the motherboard, CPU, RAM and boot drive. Even disconnected all the fans and everything. So there was nothing extra running, literally just the bare minimum to turn the system on. Turn it on, the exact same thing happened. So at this point I'm pretty confused, and I think, well, maybe it's a problem with Windows. Maybe there's some sort of corrupt thing in there, because that has happened to me before. Literally a year ago, my main PC had a problem with Windows. There was something corrupt in there, and that also like bricked my whole system. Luckily, none of the hardware was damaged. I just needed to format all my drives and reload Windows on it. But coming back to the server, I then decided, well, let me boot just into the BIOS and leave it in the BIOS and see if anything happens there, because then Windows isn't even running. So I did that, and again, after about 2 to 5 minutes, the system just lost power again completely. And when it loses power, a funny thing happens. When you try and when you press the power button, like, it comes to life for a second, like it wants to boot up, but then it just like goes, as soon as you leave the button again, it goes off again. So then each time you had to physically come to the back, flip the switch off for the power supply, let the system drain of power, then turn it back on again, and then it would boot up as normal. So then I literally had to go to my last option, and that was to actually take my power supply out of my main system and put it into the server. So that's exactly what I did. It took me forever because I had cable management in my system. As you know, I have a water cooling setup and all of that, so it isn't the easiest to just take a component out, but I did it anyway. Okay, so after I took out my power supply from my main rig, I installed it in the server, I turned it on, and everything worked fine. It didn't shut down. So I decided, well, okay, I'm gonna manually shut it down, and I did. And I connected all of my drives again. I connected all of the fans, the GPU. I literally put the whole thing back together as it was, and then the system turned on. And then I decided, well, I'm just going to leave it there, just in idle. And I left it in idle for 2 hours, and it didn't shut down. So the next thing I did was just run like a basic GPU and CPU stress test, just like a benchmark. And everything was still fine. After a few runs, I left it again for about 10-15 minutes, and it didn't shut down. So I came to the conclusion that my power supply was actually bad. Now, so I'm guessing with the load shedding, so with the random just power failures, and with our power not being that clean, that this power supply got really damaged to a point now where it is not reliable anymore. Then that's all from me for today. Hope you enjoyed this video. Please leave a like, a comment, and remember to subscribe. Also hit the bell icon so you get notified of future videos, and I'll see you in the next video. But until then, bye bye.